Asian Parent Playbook for Talking to Teens. Thank you for coming out. This is we're really pleased with the turnout. It's wonderful to see you all here. My name is Jeff Moe. I am Vice President of the Asian American Parents Association, or AAPA, which is sponsoring this event. And I'd like to start by introducing our co-presidents, Jerry Ma and Yi Ding, who will first introduce our board members and then also talk a little bit about AAPA. So, Jerry.
Thank you. Okay, good evening everyone. Again, thank you so much for coming tonight to our annual fall seminar. And so I want to introduce our board members, Jeff Moe, very long time serving our board members, and also a community leader. He's also a board member of our Fremont Union High School District. Yes. All right. Yi, our co-president. Jerry Liu. Emma Fu. Sherry Chen. Sherry is our co-president. Yeah. And she also has worked for AAPA for many years. And Shu Chang. Jackie Chen. Again, not the temple movie star. Sharon Lee. Kathleen Gui. Christine Lin. And I think Catherine Liu, she's not here tonight. Well, finally, we have very important board member here, Hong Wei, and Li Yan Zhang. I think that's all right. And I'll just say thank you again, and please, if you can go to our website, aapa.org, and you can make any, .net, aapa.net. Please, if you can make some pledges and some donations, that will be really appreciated. Thank you so much. And over to you.
Thank you, Jerry. So I recently just became co-president of the AAPA, so it's my first time. Pretty nice. So what is the AAPA? AAPA actually started as an Asian parent group here in Cupertino. It was an Asian Parent Council for 1991. At the time, it's a little hard to believe, but at the time, Asian parents felt that they were underrepresented in the school district. They felt like their voices weren't being heard here in Cupertino. It is a little hard to believe. And one of their concerns was that the schools here weren't rigorous enough. They weren't doing enough to prepare our kids for college. And as you can see, times have changed. Right? Times have changed here in Cupertino, and we have a lot more active community members who are Asian here in our community. So there's a real question, then if we have a lot of representation now, do we still need an Asian American Parents Association? What's the purpose? And I would say that we do, and for a few different reasons. One, you're going to see tonight, there are concerns facing the Asian American community that are unique to our community, and how we address those and how we better educate ourselves about those is very important. Another is, that even though nobody talks about our schools not being rigorous enough these days. We still have a long ways to go. Cupertino School District is still, relative to our peers, fairly underfunded. So we have some of the best students here in Cupertino. We have some of the most engaged parents. We have very caring teachers, but are we giving them the resources that they need? And so I really hope that you guys come here tonight, not just to come to this event, put on by our wonderful guests, but also to remain engaged. Those of you who have donated, thank you so much for donating. But also just remain engaged with the community. Email us, let us know what your concerns are and how we can better move forward for all of our kids. And I also, where did Shelly go? Did Shelly have something? Oh, there she is. Shelly, I'm going to embarrass you a little bit here. So, up until very recently, Shelly was a co-president, and she has actually been co-president of Asian American Parents Association for 10 years, which is quite a milestone. So because of that, I decided to present you with a little picture. You guys see something in the front row, can't see, but that's in another good way. It's Congressman Norman Mineta. And yeah, so thank you so much, Shelley, for your years of hard work for the community. Would you like to say a few words?
What a surprise. I have been with AAPA for over about 10 years. The reason I said it's about time for me to step down is because, first of all, I have been as a co-president for a long time, and also my 2 children already graduated from our high school district. They're already went on for college. So I was always thinking, we need to have the current parents of our school districts because they have first-hand of experience with our students. And also, I would like to encourage more parents to get involved with the community. So I'm very glad we have new, fresh people coming out to work with this wonderful organization that serves our community. Well, thank you so much for the AAP board member, and also thank you all for your coming to support this great organization. Thank you.
Okay, and now we're ready for the main event. We're really, again, happy to have this group from CHIPAO with us. Just a little background. We were fortunate to have Dr. Rona Hu and Dr. Steve Suss attend our annual AAPA Spring Luncheon. And they told about this wonderful program that they developed. And we were able then to arrange this event here where we can see more about the process that they use. So the person who gave you the instructions on the cell phone, that's Dr. Joanne Lee. And let me just tell you a little bit about her, and she's going to then introduce more of the program. So Dr. Joanne Lee received her BS and MS from the University of California, San Diego, and her MD from the University of California, LA. She's interested in cultural differences and psychiatric symptoms and manifestations, as well as community outreach, education, and promotion of mental health issues in the Asian American population. She is a 1.5 generation Korean American, so 1.5, and also a Palo Alto High School graduate. So let's give a hand for Dr. Joanne Lee.
Thank you so much for the introduction. Just to explain what 1.5 means is that I was born in Korea, but I was brought over with my parents when I was still in my younger years. So I was actually a 7th grader when I first came to the United States. So that's the generation of us who identify ourselves as 1.5 generation because we're kind of stuck in the 2 different cultures. I grew up enough in Korea where I'm fluent in Korean and I'm also rooted in Korean culture, but also I have assimilated into the American culture as I was growing up the rest of the time. So that's what 1.5 means. Okay, so I just wanted to introduce you guys to this Stanford CHIPAO presentation that we'll be doing today. Thank you so much for coming. And Dr. Hu will actually give you more information about how it came to be, but I just wanted to go over some of the logistics with you. So today we will have 6 different skits that we will be performing here today. And the skits are organized as follows. So there's part 1, which is the more usual reaction by the parents as we would normally see in our different cultural groups. And as the part 1 with certain issues that plays out, and I'm sure you guys, a lot of you will resonate with some of the issues that are being brought up and also some of the responses by the team and also the parent who's playing the role will discuss during this skit. It will pause, and then a moderator will come into the scene, and they will talk about what just happened. Okay, everybody, the parent role as well as the team role will play. We'll try to answer that question in that role. Okay, and then we'll do a part 2 where we suggest perhaps a different way to respond or make a change in terms of how the parent communicates with the child to have a different outcome. Okay? And through this time, if you can pay attention to the actors and if you have any feedback or comments as it's happening, feel free to type in on your text and text it to us. But hold your question till the end, okay? You can text any questions on the way, but you will have a designated Q&A session after that play is completed, okay? So we'll have part 1, moderating part 2, and then we'll have Q&A for that play, and then we'll move on to the next skit, okay? And then at the end of, so during the Q&A session, more than welcome to raise your hand. We'll have Dr. Grace Liu, who has the microphone, who will come to you and give you the microphone, and you'll have your chance to ask that question live, and it will be answered by our moderator and the people who are participating in the skit. Okay? At the end of the session, after we've done all 6 of our skits, we'll again have Q&A where we'll be able to talk about more general topics if you have questions about that. And remember, just throughout the whole session, please be respectful to the people who are participating in the front and give your full attention. Try not to have any too much of a side conversation because it will distract people around you from the skit and the learning points that we're trying to do. And you have all received a handout that has lists of our skits for today, as well as some of the learning points that we wanted to highlight. There are more skits that are available on our website. Our website is also written on that handout, but it's www.stanfordchipao.com. So I will give the floor to Dr. Hu, who will give us an introduction about Stanford CHIPAO, and then we'll start with our first skit.
Thank you, Dr. Lee. Stanford CHIPAO stands for Communication Health Interactives for Parents of Adolescents and Others, because I'm a Chinese mom of a real-life teenager, and I'm a psychiatrist, and I'm a faculty member at Stanford. And really, of those 3 jobs, guess which one is often the hardest? Mom, right, exactly. So we started Stanford CHIPAO because of a tragic event that took place in the community surrounding Stanford. In 2015, there were 4 deaths from suicide in 1 calendar year in Palo Alto school districts, and which is where my daughter attends high school. And all 4 of them were Chinese American. And we realized that there are some stresses that are particular to our community that we want to do something about. So tonight's presentation is one of a series that we've done for different schools. We're so glad to be here in Cupertino. This is wonderful. 谢谢你们今天晚上来，我想你们都很忙，可是这个很重要。And we really feel touched that you're here. This is an amazing turnout. So each skit will be written as a version 1.0, as they say in computers, right? And a version 2.0. And what we want you to see is that all of these were taken from real life. The ones that I wrote are things that I actually said when I was a teenager and things that I've actually said as a mother. And we want you to know that sometimes when things don't go well, that there's a different way of doing it that doesn't require you to have a brain transplant, right? That wouldn't work. So we want you to be able to get some tips from this. Feel free to laugh. Feel free to cry. We aren't professional actors. Some have had some acting training, but we'll be doing, the core CHIPAO group has been from Stanford Psychiatry Department, but today we also have some guest actors, and this will be a lot of fun. Our first one is called Bad at Math, and it's written by Bharat Sampati, who is a medical student at UC Irvine, who is from Palo Alto originally, and knew some of the people who were affected by suicide back when he was a student. And then we also have Dr. Playing his father, Dr. Shashank Joshi, who's a child psychiatrist and a faculty member at Stanford. So we present to you, and then I'll be the moderator, and I will jump in as if by magic during a crucial point, which you wish this could happen in real life, and then you rewind and do it better next time. But you'll be able to make some of these points help. So, if I can have the actors in place, oh, go ahead.
And just a reminder, please make sure your phone is silent so that it doesn't go off in the middle of the skit and the presentation. Thank you.
Actors have their places. Oh, so I'll be yelling freeze at some crucial moment, and then I'll ask for you guys' input. So, is this on? Oh, we need this.
And another reminder that you guys can send any comments or questions as we go along with the skits.
And action.
Dad? You know that math test that I took last week?
The test you studied very hard for.
Yeah. I got a 48.
48. 48 out of 50?
No, I got a 48%.
48%? What? This is the third math test this semester. What is going on?
I don't know. I mean, I've been trying so hard. I studied like a long time for this test, and I keep failing, and I feel like, I'm not smart enough for this class, and I need to drop down to math level. I just don't know what to do.
Drop down a math level? Are, this is ridiculous. What is this? You're trying to take the easy way out. You just need to buckle down and study. You know what you have to do.
I don't know. I mean, I'm trying, and it's just not working. I just don't know what to do. I'm trying my hardest, and it's just not working. I keep failing.
You're trying your hardest? Let me tell you about trying your hardest. When I was your age, I would have to study for weeks and weeks. I would have to take a train to the next state to write the exam. I would have to study from 5 different books about maths. Your generation, the diagnosis is easy. You are lazy. You are lazy. You look for the easy way out. Now I spoke to Sanjeev's mom. He's getting A's on every test. If you continue this way, you will get nowhere in life.
got to buckle down and realize this is not a joke. This is high school. And at this rate, you won't even get into the community college.
Yeah. I don't know how many times I have to tell you, but I absolutely hate it when you compare me to Sanjeev. It's just not fair. When I tell you my friends are hanging out, you tell me not to compare to them, but now you're comparing. You're such a hypocrite.
All right, well, sounds like you're independent enough to figure this out for yourself. So come talk to me when you have other ideas. All right.
All right, freeze.
You know, the story is very familiar. We came to this country, we sacrificed for them. We are paying 3 times the rent to live in 1/3 of the space, right? Compared to where I came from in Texas, when I came to California, when I came to Palo Alto. There is no ability to appreciate any kind of thing we want to impart, wisdom, experience, mistakes. Our role as parents is to pass this on. But I'm talking, the lights are on, nobody's home. He's on social media all day, all night. We have no idea what time they are going to sleep.
I heard you say the lights are on, but nobody's home. Let me check in. So, Bharat, how are you feeling?
Not good. I mean, it's not fun to fail a test. And you know, I feel like I came to my dad to kind of figure out how to work through this because I've tried multiple options to keep studying more. And, I've tried to get tutored at school, and it's just not working. Keep failing, and then my dad just makes me feel worse. So I don't know.
So when he says that you don't know how hard we sacrifice, is that true?
I do know. You tell me all the time.
Okay, so the lights are on, and I think somebody's home. I actually, you know, Dad, I would feel kind of hurt if somebody said that about me. I mean, I understand that you're feeling underappreciated, but you just kind of said he didn't have a brain, which most people would find upsetting.
Exactly. The problem is he has a brain. He has a very good brain. I happen to know where that brain came from. Okay? I know. And I'm not saying these things out of disrespect. I'm saying these things because he's not living up to his potential. Okay, we go over the strategies every weekend. He's working hard, clearly he's working hard. This 3rd time this semester, something is not working. And he has no idea, he has no explanation.
Okay, you said you didn't mean any disrespect. Bharat, are you feeling respected or disrespected?
Totally disrespectful.
Totally disrespected. Okay, so whatever you meant, I hear that you're saying you didn't mean any disrespect, but he heard it, he felt it. It felt like disrespect. And one thing that I noticed from where I was that as soon as you mentioned the name Sanjeev, there was a noticeable change in his. Who's Sanjeev?
Sanjeev is my friend, but I guess, I mean, it's hard to. My dad just always compares me to him, you know, and it's hard, you know, when I see him at school now, I'm kind of just angry because I'm like, man, I'm always getting compared to this guy, and like, it's hard to be his friend now because of my dad.
Right.
I just don't want to be compared to him.
Right. So Dad, why did you mention Sanjeev?
Look, I'm not trying to compare him to make him feel bad. I'm trying to help him have some hope. If Sanjeev can do it, he can certainly do it.
I see, so you were trying to motivate him. Yeah? So I bet you find it really motivating when your boss does that. Or your wife. Yeah?
These are strategies we are trying. Motivation is very personal. I was trying to connect him to somebody who is like him, born here, raised here, with the same kinds of activities, as far as I can tell, same kinds of distractions, and yet straight A's. For Sanjeev.
Okay. What I would have heard if I were sitting where he is was, I don't want to be your dad. I would have heard, I would rather have Sanji as my son. And part of the reason that I feel that way is because I bet in real life you've had a Sanji. I had a Vivian. Vivian was better at piano than I was and danced ballet better than me, and she won the spelling bee, and the next year I was runner-up. And so I hated her. I mean, maybe she was really a nice person, but I couldn't stand being around her because it was unpleasant. And I know that this is a fairly standard thing. I know I've done it as a mom, tried to compare somebody, but it makes it difficult to be friends with that person. And it's even worse if the person that you're comparing to is a sibling or a cousin, because it drives a wedge there.
In my day, I had a Pankaj.
Pankaj. Okay.
His name was Pankaj.
Yeah.
He lived right around the block. Our fathers worked together in the same place, they went to the same college. And I constantly had that. And I used it to motivate me. I didn't like it, but I just thought that's what parents do.
It is what parents do, and sometimes it does have an effect that's helpful, but sometimes it doesn't. And I guess what I'm saying is it's not like you have to do everything in your life differently, but take a look at how it's affecting him. So if mentioning Sanjeev or Pankaj or Vivian is helpful, then keep doing that. It's working. But if it's not working, and I saw something that really wasn't working, then maybe you want to do it a little bit differently. Do you want to try that again? Okay, so we're going to hit the rewind button, and we're going to do it again.
Let's try.
And action.
Dad.
Pankaj.
Alright. Get this dialogue again.
Action.
Dad,
What up?
you know that math test I took last week?
Yes, I do. I remember how hard you studied for that test.
Yeah, I got a 48.
48. I'm guessing not 48 out of 50.
Yeah.
48%. Oh. I'm sorry, man. I know how disappointed you must be. That is a shame. You worked so hard for that test. That's got to be so frustrating. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've been studying. I've been studying so hard, and I don't know. I just want to give up and move down to math level because I just don't know what to do. I just failed again, and I tried really hard.
Well, this has been the theme for this semester. I mean, I don't understand because Sanjeev's getting A's on every test. I talked to his mom. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, how many times I've been telling you not to compare me to Sanjeev? It's just not fair.
I'm just hardwired for certain things I have to unlearn. Okay? I'm sorry. I shouldn't have compared.
Yeah.
Okay. Sit down. So, let's figure out what we can do. I know how hard you're trying. You're not getting the results you want. Let's put our heads together. What about reaching out to your maths teacher? I'm sure you're not the only one who struggled in this class. It's a very hard class. You're in the fast lane math.
Yeah.
Why don't you schedule a meeting and she probably has some ideas to help you. I know you feel bad to reach out, but that's what she's there for and she should have some great advice.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I haven't tried that yet, so could work.
Great. Don't worry. By the way, is there anything else going on?
I don't think so. It's just I feel like all my friends are doing really well. getting A's in all the classes, and I'm just the only one that's like failing and struggling, and it's just, I feel like I'm dumb or something. I just can't keep up.
Yeah. But listen, it's always hard to have trouble when you think your friends are doing it perfectly. We all have struggles. Believe it or not, I had struggles. Mom had struggles. We kept pushing through, wasn't always easy. We are going to get through this, all right? And if you need to drop down a math lane in order to find the right fit, that's what we need to do.
All right, sounds good.
All right. It's going to be okay.
Thank you.
Freeze. So help me out, help them out. What went differently this time? What are things that you noticed? You can just call them out. It's faster than understanding. So instead of feeling like on the opposite sides of the problem the first time, they're on the same side. In the first one, Bharat didn't want to get a bad grade, but he did, and his dad made him feel terrible for it. This time, they're both disappointed. They're both on the same side. So, and he did something very important, is at the end he said, is there anything else? Because in the first one, it was all about the grade, but the grade could be, I mean, it could just be the grade, but it could be the tip of an iceberg. There might be some other things under the surface that he hasn't talked about, and that he's now giving the opportunity to talk about. What else did you notice? Positive, yeah. He was more solution-oriented. So the first time, it was sort of like, I did this better, you did it badly. The second time, he was positive about hope for the future, but also really emphasized that he struggled before and his mom has struggled before. That this is not something that they're expecting to be perfect. And that's something that, as parents, a lot of times we feel like we set the best example by doing everything perfectly. But perfectionism is actually more highly correlated than anything else with depression in Asians. It's a particularly high risk factor for us. So showing a youngster that sometimes things go wrong and you can still roll with it, that's important. That's what you want to teach them. So it's actually, that lesson right there, ultimately, is probably more important for the son than the grade itself. Okay?
I have a question from the audience. What if the son really dropped down in math grade?
So, here's a good question. What if the son really did drop down to another level? You know, all of these school districts have these different levels. Would that be the end of the world? No. Do you sit down a math level and then just keep going until you are buried in mud? No, that doesn't actually happen. And I think one of the things that we're trying to translate from parent to child is that a lot of times where we came from, the situation was very linear. But everyone's come to the United States right now for a reason. And part of that is it's less like a ladder and it's more like a mountain, right? In a lot of countries, if you you only get to take the exam once. Everybody who got a grade above went to AAPA. And then, or tied up, whichever. And then below that is the next one, and below that, and so forth. It's that case in a lot of countries. I just visited Brazil, and like everybody who got into University of Sao Paulo got better grades than the people at the next most prestigious university. But the United States is not like that. And in case you're wondering if I'm telling the truth or not, Steve Jobs went to Reed College. And you've never heard of that. And then he dropped out. And somehow he still became Steve Jobs. So is it the end of the world if he drops down a math level? Maybe not.
And I will add that I did end up dropping down a math level in high school, and I feel like I turned out okay, so. Yeah.
He actually flew up tonight to do this. He's interviewing at Stanford residency tomorrow. So we're hoping he joins us.
You know, on the second time, I did feel like I had less pressure to have to be this perfect parent. but actually, when I shared what I struggled with, for me, in some days, it's very freeing that I can be honest with my son. It's not like I lowered my expectations, but actually I felt in some ways that I would join him and say, not like I know how you feel, but like I actually did struggle for some portion of my schooling, and so did your mom. And it's not the worst thing now, but we have to figure out maybe what we can do about it.
Yeah, and so it didn't just feel better for your son, it felt better for you too, to be more human. Yeah. Any last comments before we go on? Yes.
You offer that son, it's okay to lower the restaurant. That has to educate Chinese parents. You have to willing to do that. A lot of Chinese parents wouldn't accept that. Wouldn't even offer that as option.
Right, because and I like to emphasize that,
Ronan, can you repeat?
Repeat the question.
Comment.
So the thing of that it really is true that dropping down a level in math is not the end of the world. Because, I like to tell non-Asian parents that we're not just making this stuff up, right? We're not uptight on purpose, right? We're not, we love our children, we want to do what's best for them, but usually where we came from, whether it's China, Korea, it really does feel like you can only, there's only one direction and everything else is down. And the United States is genuinely different from that. And so emphasizing that, knowing that, because a lot of times when young people are feeling depressed, suicidal, terrible about themselves, it's because they feel like it's the end of the world. They feel like there's no other option. But if you sort of reflect, okay, this is disappointing, this is not fun, but we can get through that. That's resilience. That's what you want to convey to the child. And that will do so much more for them than any given grade.
And generally, it's better to, if you have to drop down an academic lane, it's almost better to drop down and, thrive and succeed and be happy than to struggle and feel miserable in a lane that you don't want to be in. And who knows, maybe you drop down in math, but you could try, AP history or AP US government, if that's the class still. So yeah, there's there's other options.
So I know there's a lot more questions that are coming in. Thank you so much for the questions. But we do have more skits, and actually we have one more skit that is similar in that we're going to talk about studying. So we're going to try to answer some of those questions then. If not enough time, then we'll answer it at the end of the session, okay? So right now, thank you so much. I just wanted to introduce Dr. Joshi is our Stanford Child Psychiatry Residency Program Director, and he normally doesn't have an accent. He is our UC Irvine medical student who is a graduate, and he's trying to get to Stanford Psychiatry, and I hope we get him. So our next skit is going to be called Awkward Hug. Okay. So it is going to be, this is one of the 3 skits that we're going to have tonight that is going to be performed by your own AAPA members, and real mom, real dad, real teen at some point. And so I just wanted to introduce, so the dad will be played by Mr. Don Sun, who is the father of 2 sons at Buena Vista. And the son will be played by Mr. Carl Shan, who is a Lindbergh alum and also a high school teacher currently. And the moderating will be done by Dr. Hu.
And action.
All right, I guess we're all moved into my college dorm now.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Anything?
Well, yeah, I guess I thought. Okay. All right. Bye, Dad.
Buy me some money?
All right, so in case you were wondering, I'm not actually here, but now I am. So, Dad, how did that go?
Son, I do love you as much as your mom, but I'm not used to be hugged. Even I feel you are very warm and strong. I feel so good, but this is the first time. I just feel very awkward.
Yeah, that's right, and you're not alone. In many countries outside the U.S., it's not standard to hug people. Several people sent me a YouTube video where Asian young people call their parents up and say, "I love you." And it's a great video. I urge you to look it up. And, you know, several things happen. Most of the parents first say, "What, is something wrong?" And then some of the parents are able to say, yeah, me too. Of the ones who are able to say, "I love you," they all say it in English. Not a single one says it in their original language. Because, I mean, this is the way I grew up as well, you know. I remember when I was dating a non-Asian guy, and he was sort of like, you know, "How do you say I love you in Chinese?" And I was like, "Why?" And I was like, "Oh man, that sounds so weird." So it's difficult, but let me ask, so Carl here will be our model teen. He looks very teenage, yes?
Yes, and when I tried to hug my dad, I mean, it was also my first time hugging him. We've never done that before. I don't really hug my mom or my dad. And sometimes I guess my friends hug each other, and I do see some of my friends hug their parents, and so this is a big moment. I just moved into my college dorm. He was going to say goodbye. I kind of wanted to just go for it.
Yeah, and this is something that, you know, this was written by Jason Lee, who wasn't able to be here tonight. He's actually traveling in China right now on a Fulbright scholarship. But this is what actually happened in his real life when he started at Stanford. And I volunteer for move-in day at Stanford as often as I can, maybe not every year, but as often as I can. And I see this being played over and over again. The parents sometimes have difficulty being able to express affection. Actually, so my husband is not Chinese, and it was funny because, you know, the first time my dad ever hugged him was when we announced that we were having a baby. And it was my husband that was doing the awkward hug. It was sort of like, "Who is this? What happened?" He's like, you know, I don't recognize this person. So, you know, it may not be something that is natural to your upbringing, but it's worth trying. And someone who has grown up in this country watching other friends' parents hug his friends is going to feel like, is going to maybe have a little sense of longing. So at the point that he made the attempt, then maybe Dad this time can try, even if it feels a little foreign, to go ahead and make the effort. Even if it's not perfect, I think it'll be appreciated. You want to rewind and replay that? Sure. Okay.
Okay. I guess. Yeah. I guess this is goodbye.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Have a good day in school. Anything else you need? Money?
I guess it's from you a hug.
Very good. So this time the dad tried. It still felt awkward to him, but he tried. And I think that's worth a lot. You know, a lot of times what my parents will say, what a lot of people I know say is, you know, study hard, make sure you eat. I don't understand why make sure you eat is so common. Because it's not, oh, thank you, I would have forgotten that otherwise. But that's one way of expressing love. So you can keep expressing love the way you have. You know, I mean, I've had my parents tell me and other people say, you know, what, I paid for this place and I did all that and drove her to piano lessons every weekend, and that's how I express love. And one of the reasons I went into psychiatry was because Dr. Evelyn Lee, from years ago, came to my med school class and said, my mother never says she loves me. She says to me, my favorite part of the chicken, the neck. There's only one neck in the chicken, and it has the tenderest meat, and that's how she expresses it. And I got teary then, just like I did now. I was like, of course, I finally understand something. I was born in the United States and raised on ABC, and so a lot of things were not translated to me then. I've come to understand them better now, but that was something that, I wish my parents could say that, and it's still difficult for them, but they're working on it, and that's all anyone can ask. So.
I have a question from the audience. What if the kid is the one that doesn't want hugs?
What if the kid is the one who doesn't want the hug? And especially maybe a boy child, although it could be a girl. So what are some suggestions?
Anyone? Sure. I think from my perspective, if I didn't want a hug as a teenager, it might be because I haven't thought about that. Maybe being something I'm ever comfortable receiving from my parents. And I think you maybe want to read the body language of the child. If the child really feels uncomfortable, I think maybe hugging them could then leave that experience more traumatizing and more scarring. So that is something to be aware of. And the first time will probably be uncomfortable for both people, no matter what. And so I think it's also okay if you go in for a hug, even if the child isn't fully sure what you're doing.
Just as we wanted the son, in this case, not to take it personally when he felt awkward, that we wanted him to know that it was just the way that he was raised, try not to take it personally if your child isn't that affectionate. One important thing is timing. So at some point when my daughter was growing up, I realized that I couldn't take her all the way to the door and hug her at school, and then I had to not hug her in front of anybody else, and then I had to not take her to the door, and then it seemed like she wanted to take a running jump from the car on the way, which is actually not safe, so I never allowed that. But so a hug that's rejected in public is sort of like, I'm not a baby, I don't want to look that way. A hug in private is a different thing, and if you start with, I'm going to come home from, the AAPA event, and then hug my child, that might be a little bit, but if you sort of start with this, my daughter's 16, and a lot of times, if she's not feeling good, I'll just sort of hug her like this, and she doesn't have to hug back. So there's no pressure, and then so it's just this kind of, I'm with you, and if you have difficulty saying, I love you, you can say, I'm proud of you, or I care a lot, I know you're working hard, you're really something special, things like that. They don't have to be 100% everything all at once, because frankly that might be a little scary. Like I said, my husband was sort of like, what happened to your dad? I was like, he's happy, we're having a baby, this is the first grandchild. And it's like, wow, that was really weird. So being able to work up to it, and the difference between dad version 1.0 and 2.0 was a little bit of just that much extra effort, and it made all the difference in how the son felt.
And if I could just jump right in, one thing to add in particular is to pay attention to your kids. Each and every one of them probably has a very different way of showing that they love you, and even knowing that you love them. That is extremely important. Notice how Dad, at one point, even tried to offer money. Very classic. My dad did that to me multiple times over. And my mom would offer me food. And I guess so to say that this is something that should definitely be discussed with your children. Your children should know there's absolutely more than one way to show that you care about someone. And if you have not had that discussion with your child, I encourage you to do so, because a lot of times this is not something that's talked about, and it's good to do it fairly early on, especially as they get older and they start interacting with people like boys and girls interact a little bit more. It's important for them to know that these are topics that can be discussed with mom and dad, and that this is something that is nothing bad. It's just different. Everybody is a little bit different.
I grew up with someone who exactly like that. So he was half and half On his dad's side, he was Chinese. On his mom's side, he wasn't. So he couldn't speak any Mandarin at all, except for two phrases. 爸爸我可不可以有车? 爸爸我可不可以有钱? Dad, can I borrow the car? And Dad, can I have some money? And that was it. But he spoke those two perfectly.
Just one thing that was really helpful for me to learn, there was a book called 5 Love Languages, and it explains that people have many ways of showing love and affection. And I'm not going to list all 5, but the 2 that I remember that I want to share. One is verbal, so you can tell somebody you love them. And the other one is acts of service. So you wash their dishes, you cook for them, you clean their bed sheets, maybe sounds familiar. And something that as I got older, I realized is when I was growing up, I wasn't sure if my parents really loved me because they wouldn't tell me, they wouldn't use verbal. But they did all these acts of service, and it wasn't until I got older that I realized, my parents come from a culture where the way to show love is through acts of service. You serve others, and that's how you show love. And in America, it's more common to use verbal. And so even though I saw my friends engaging and saying I love you to other people, I thought that's what I needed. But it turns out my parents were saying I love you, but it just wasn't clear to me. I couldn't hear it at the time because I didn't know. And that's just something to be aware of. Like Dr. Stevens said, there are many ways that maybe your child and other people in different cultures have of expressing and receiving affection.
Okay, we have audience questions, and I'm going to open it to people on stage here. Is it too much for a 15-year-old boy who wants hugs from mom every day, but that same child rejects hugs from dad?
Yeah, so I'll repeat I don't need to repeat the question yet. Okay. So your child will go through different stages at different times where they will probably treat you somewhat differently. Mom can appreciate getting the hugs. Dad should hang in there and not give up, and not even if it feels like you're being wounded through the heart. And so this is a phase. There's been studies that the lifelong personality of someone is more similar to the way that they were as a preteen than during the teenage years. So just ride out this period. The American concept of the teenager as being somewhat rebellious, that's very encouraged around here, and it may be partly because of the way this country was founded, which was by rebels. So if you have someone who is, acting like you're a dork, for this period of time, it could be that you're really not a dork. It could be that actually they're going through a phase where they need to assert some independence, and they'll come back to you at some point. So, Dad, hang in there. And did you want to say something?
Just want to add one more sentence. Is that with kids, I have 2 boys. I never hugged them during their high schools until they graduated. When they went to the college, I started hugging them. And 2 boys' response is totally different. One is a very warm response. The other is just a stick there. Good. So I really think that if I can hug them from their very childhood until they graduate, it's much, much better. So it's an encouragement. If you can have any chance to hug your kids, just hug them as often as possible. And also, it's as a mom should encourage kids to hug them, dad.
So one thing before we move on to our next skit is that I'd like to just add, somebody in the audience said, why don't the parents say I love you in text? I think that's a great idea. Because part of the thing that we were just talking about, kids do go through stages in life where they might change their behavior towards you. But if you start early while they're younger, and the more that you make it normal for you to say I love you, whether in person or through text, the more they will get used to it and they'll reciprocate hopefully one day.
Yeah, it's a process.
So our next, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
The next topic is called You Should Have Studied. And it is played by Ms. Xiaoyan Wang. I'm sorry if I didn't say it right. She has a son who is a senior at Lynbrook, and by Mr. Brandon Lee, who is also a Lynbrook alumni. Or alum.
And I'm Steve Suss. I'll be moderating.
Yes, sorry.
Okay. And action.
Hi, your breakfast is getting cold.
So stressed.
That's what happened.
There was a big math test today and I didn't study for it.
Oh no! Why don't you study? What happened?
Okay.
Hi. You didn't eat the breakfast.
Wait, okay, hold on. Hold on, young man, come on back. I'm out. All right, let's everybody sit down. Just relax. Go ahead, man, have a seat. Mom, what happened?
Oh,
What happened?
I don't know what happened. He didn't study and he didn't tell me about all this. I have no idea what happened.
Yeah, you clearly didn't want to talk.
Yeah, and I don't want to tell her.
And also, I'm so worried about him, and he didn't eat breakfast. He will hungry for all day, and I'm worried about he will fail the test, the big math test.
Ah, this is true. The food is really, really important. It uses energy. And a lot of times, the team usually knows that they probably should have studied, but it's hard to really do anything about it the morning of the exam, right?
Yeah.
So maybe we could try things a little bit differently and try to slow down the approach. Maybe ask a couple more questions and listen some more so that we can better understand
Okay.
why that happened.
Okay, then I'll try.
Okay, let's do it again.
I hope I can do this in real time. Hurry your breakfast is ready.
I'm so stressed.
Oh, what happened?
I have a huge math test today and I didn't study at all.
Oh no! Oh, eat some egg. It has protein.
It's not gonna help. Like, wait.
Oh, sorry. What happened?
I don't know.
Maybe you spent too much on the homecoming thing?
No, that has nothing to do with it. Like, that's the only thing I actually enjoy. It's
Yeah, absolutely. I understand that. That's the thing you really like it. So, how about this? Just eat the breakfast, then go to the test. Try your best. It may not be as bad as you think. Then after school, we can talk more later about the day.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay. Good.
Okay, let's stop there. Have a seat. Great job. He didn't walk off angry this time around. How'd that feel, young man?
Better.
Yeah. What did you notice differently about Mom's approach this time around?
Well, she didn't lecture me on the spot and was offering more ideas.
Okay, good. So she was exploring what was going on and maybe even just tossing out options.
Yeah.
Okay. It felt a little bit less, what's the word?
Combative.
Those are your words.
Pushy.
Right. And Mom, what did you notice was different about, how he was communicating with you this time around versus the first time around?
Yes, this time is totally different because I took deep breath, then I hold my memory and I just try to understand what happened. Understand he also feels sorry about what happened. Then I just I don't want to argue with him, let him feel very bad, and then make me think even bad in the test. So I just try to help him to relax. Then maybe later on, if he would like to talk to me, then we can have more communication.
Excellent point. But you also raised another really great point, which is when you heard that he had a math test that he didn't study for, you had to take a deep breath.
Yeah, I must hold my Yeah, and that will not help, actually.
This is true, but the feelings do come up. It certainly does bring up certain angry feelings when, your child knows they should have studied and you know they should have studied, but they didn't do it.
Yes.
And you wonder.
Yeah. And I really want to know why, but if we shout at him, it will not help. He even doesn't want to talk to me anymore. So just relax and try to communicate with him later at a better time.
This is true, and it's important to relax in the moment, but you should also, feel comfortable being angry also. Maybe you can just talk with your other friend about it, or you can talk about it with your mom. It's okay to be angry, it's okay to be a little upset, but you do have to control who you're talking to about some of your anger and some of your frustration. And again, as you noticed, you were able to get a lot more information the second time around. And not only did you get more information, there's the possibility of figuring out what the underlying problem is and trying to talk with them about how could we work together to overcome those problems. Because if we don't know what the problem is, we can't help them. And we got another problem first before he puts the bag on and storms off to go to the test.
Right, so something to just add. So we know, just like what Dr. Seth was saying, we know we will have emotions, we will have reactions. We're not asking you to all of a sudden become this robot that doesn't feel and that only says all the right things. We don't expect that. It's much easier to say than actually do, and that's why it will take a lot of practice. And that's why, earlier when Dr. Joshi was doing part 2, he even still mentioned Sanjeev, and then he apologized. He caught himself, right? And he was able to kind of backpedal a little bit. Okay, I know I shouldn't have said that. All right, what can we do, right? Just like what Dr. Seth was saying, it's more important to, build that alliance with your child so that you can continue working on that problem together. So I just wanted to bring on some of the questions that was on the, from the audience earlier with the bad at math. How much effort or work is good enough though? What if you haven't exhausted the potential? How do you also reinforce the hard work side of the message?
I'm going to give it a launch.
I know, at least on my side, I probably did that when I was a teenager. I think the strategy of moving the conversation to after the fact and setting the time around it and setting the expectation around it is really helpful, because now I don't think my parents ever did that of, hey, we should talk about this later. I don't think they ever did that. And setting that expectation for that would make it easier for me to later talk about how that test went, maybe have the conversation that the earlier skit did where they kind of debrief about how can we problem solve. I think that would have helped, and that would have been, I think, a really appropriate place to bring in the conversation about why I'm not working as hard or how I could work harder.
Actually, in my family, I don't have this kind of problem. I kind of have a very good communication with my kids. So, but I do see some other friends, families, they have this kind of issue. When parents too hard or eager to know something, the kids will shut down and say anything.
That's right. You can, these are things that you can use with your own children, but also with other ones. When I was growing up and I had difficulties with my mom sometimes, it was my aunt who could sort of step in and say, I know you're trying, it's good. And then, I'd be like, she doesn't understand. It's like, it's like she will. And that was very helpful. I'd like to paraphrase Steve Jobs again. He gave a talk at Stanford before he died. That was where he talked about the most important things in his life. The pivotal moments in his life were when he was rejected at birth first by the birth parents and then by the first couple that had promised to adopt him. They said they didn't want him, they wanted a girl. And then he dropped out of college, and then he was fired by his own company, and then he developed cancer. And each of those taught him something that, you know, if it had all gone exactly according to plan, there would be no iPhones. So you want to allow for some of the mistakes because that teaches the resilience. And so as painful as it is sometimes to have them drop down a level in that, and maybe they're not working to their full potential. But remember, your teens actually, their frontal lobes haven't fully myelinated, truly. So they haven't reached their full potential yet. That's not surprising, and that's okay. The American system does allow for potential to be reached a little bit later. And so you will have people that blossom a little bit later if they're allowed to.
Right.
Usually, I understand if the kids didn't study for the test, it's not they do not want to, because there's something they didn't manage well, so they didn't study. They feel very sorry about what happened. They already feel very sorry about that. If you parents at that time you are angry, shout at them, then it doesn't help anything at all. So maybe later on you can figure out what happened, then you can work together, then maybe you can solve the problem together.
Right, that is a very, very good point. As someone who was not a good student growing up, I can certainly tell you that it's important for you as the family to provide that support. There is nothing more important to your child when they have made a mistake than to know that mom and dad are maybe angry, but that they're not showing it. But moreover, that they're trying to help troubleshoot together with you. And that while you may not know the answer, together you will try and figure it out. That is the most important thing for your child to be able to do when they do run into a mistake. That it is not all their fault, that together, you know, we will pick you up after you fall, and we're going to start walking again together. And I'll stand next to you this time. That is a very, very important lesson.
So, multiple people are asking, what if the child essentially believes that they're correct and they won't accept suggestions, or if this is the 10th time, or, you know, how do I avoid feeling angry when they just won't listen to you? So I'm gonna try something. Okay, so something that, you know, we've been kind of repeating in our messages is that sometimes they are set in their ways, or they're being influenced by people around them, or the culture, the American culture, the teen culture, you know, and maybe it's hard to get through them the first time, but you have higher chance of getting through to them if you come genuinely and just kind of open that line of communication and let them know that you're on their side. Whereas if you come to them in an angry outburst or, you know, accusatory, you know, even if it's correct, right? You know, like you should have or you could have. At that point, like they were saying, it's not all that helpful, right? So, you know, maybe helping them come up with those reasons why they struggled on their own and having them open up to you, that would be much more fruitful for the long run.
Yeah, and it's actually time to stop, but if you want to talk about this a little bit more afterwards, come find us. I'm very familiar with that situation. We can talk.
And the mom will be played by Mrs. Fujian Kai, who is a mom of 3 children. And the son will again be Mr. Brandon Lee. Dr. Hu will be our moderator.
Places ready? And action.
We have to talk.
What?
Hear me?
What?
So, can you put your thing down right now? We need to talk.
Yes.
So I just found something on your trash can. What's this?
You went through my trash can? What's wrong?
Some people even think you're stupid.
Why would I do something? Why would I do that? Just, I can't believe you went through my trash. Just go away.
Okay, freeze. So, Mom, how are you doing?
I'm very upset.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, what could be happening? There's bloody tissues. It could be, he could be using drugs, it could be cutting, it could be, I mean, this is very upsetting. Yes. Brandon, how are you feeling?
Annoyed. How does she have the right to just shove that in my face and make all these assumptions about what's going on? Like, what the heck?
Did you feel a little attacked?
Yeah.
Okay. And a little defensive then, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. And so really what you were feeling was scared and worried about him. But what he felt, what he interpreted was that you were mad at him. And so you're really probably on the same side of this issue. I have a feeling that whatever's happening, he's not happy about it either, right? There's no teen who's sort of like, I'm cutting myself, this is so much fun, or I'm using drugs. It's not, it's not something that he wants to do. So you thought you were asking a question by saying, what's wrong with you? But this is a line that an actual teenager gave us, when she said, when my mom asked me, what's wrong with you? That's not a question. I can't answer that. What would be something that would work better? Are you okay? Yeah, that's not accusatory. Is there something wrong? Hey, sweetie, how are you? Those are things that would be better. And she was standing up the whole time, which probably felt like you were 5 years old again, and you'd been taught that. Yeah, you're being taught that. And then the line, I need to know if you're doing something stupid. That also was provided to us by a teenager, where again she said, I was on the verge of confiding in my mother how I was feeling, but when she said, I need to know if you're doing something stupid, how do you answer that, right? You can't say, yes, thank you, I'm stupid. So the mom thought she was asking a question, but it didn't feel like a question to the young person. Okay, other things we wanted to emphasize? Okay. Let's try that again. Action.
Yes.
Would you please put down your things, then you can listen.
Yeah.
So I know you're being very stressful recently.
Yeah.
Anything you want to share with me?
I'm okay.
I just found that you have some blood on your sleeve. And then recently I found you wearing long sleeve all the time, even in a very hot weather. Is there anything I don't know about?
Why are you looking at my clothes, whether there's blood on it or not? Why are you getting into all my stuff?
Well, I just had help to clean the room, tried to clean the trash can. And then I found this bloody tissue in your trash can, made me worry about it. I was very surprised. I wish I didn't see this. And I almost took me a while to come in to talk to you because I really don't know what to talk to you. So, can you share what's going on?
It's a long story.
Well, I know you're a lot of stress, and sometimes I don't know how to help you, but if you open up to me, I'm your mom. At least we can see something we can help you.
Yes. So what were some things that were improved? Attitude. Mom was worried this time, and it didn't feel like an attack. And so when she wasn't attacking, he wasn't as defensive. He was still a little snarky, right? Each time we write these and we go through a lot of different iterations, we don't want parents to feel like they need to get a brain transplant, but we don't want your children to be replaced by space aliens either. So, you know, if he had, like, right away been sort of like, oh, thank you for asking, Mom, I've actually been feeling really, that's probably not realistic. So he was still a little bit attacking, he was still a little defensive, but less so, and she didn't give up. She didn't be like, fine, be that way, I'm done. You know, which was what happened in Bad at Math. As soon as the son was attacking, then the father retreated. So this time, the son was kind of like, why are you going through my trash? And she didn't, you know, she wasn't wounded by that. It was almost a little bit expected. It's understandable. Should we go into our next skit? Any more questions?
Any questions? I haven't gotten any comments, anything. Otherwise, we are going to move on to the next skit. You can always feel free to ask questions as we continue, and then we'll have more time at the end also.
We have 2 more skits, is that correct?
Yes, we have.
Okay. So the next one is
Unsuitable Boy.
Unsuitable
Before
Boy.
we do that, so our next skit is called Unsuitable Boy. And it will be played by Dr. Grace Lee as the daughter, who's also a psychiatry resident at Stanford, and Dr. Hu as the mother, and Murat as the unsuitable boy, and Dr. Sutz as the moderator.
I love this skit, by the way.
Rod is doing this for the first time today. He filled in at the last moment for our original Unsuitable Boy, but we think he's very unsuitable. I'll be walking around, so just pretend that I'm not singing karaoke, okay?
Hi, Mom. I'm home. I'm just going to go to my room to practice my lines for the audition.
Not okay. I need you to help with a pop. Hello.
Hi, you must be Grace's mom. My name's Barat. I've heard so much about you.
For Borat? Like the movie?
No, Barat.
Are you in Grace's year?
I'm a senior.
Really?
Yeah, so we're just going to go up to practice lines.
Oh, no, you don't. Here. Sit.
The printer, the script, the props, they're all upstairs, like everything.
You can bring us here.
Oh, okay. Well.
So, how'd you do this quarter?
Mostly A's, you know, pretty well. I got a B+ in math. I got a 48% on the math final, so. But that's almost an A.
Almost. How are your SATs?
Grace got the highest SAT score in the school, so you can't really.
I know that.
Mom, you can't be asking him about his SAT scores. Come on.
Why not?
Can you please just let us practice for the audition?
Actually, don't you have something to do, like your math test or something?
That's like next week. This audition is tomorrow.
Oh, so that's more important, huh? What part are you going for? Leading man? What? It's a compliment. Would you like a snack?
Sure. What is that?
Century eggs. They're also called 1,000-year-old eggs. You know, they're not really 1,000 years old. We use a special mud to preserve them for a year.
Yeah, I'm actually not that hungry.
Oh, I thought you said you were.
No, I'm good.
Mom, please just let us study for the audition.
Huh. Okay. You sure you don't want a snack?
Yeah, I'm really good. I'm actually kind of full.
I insist.
Really okay.
You know, maybe you have some studying to do too.
Yeah, you know, Grace, let's catch up tomorrow. Can't we go?
Bring those grades up, huh? Yeah? Bye.
I can't believe you just did that.
What, the eggs? They're a delicacy.
I've never seen you offer them to a non-Chinese person before.
I thought he might like some Chinese culture. Or maybe just Chinese girls.
Oh my gosh, is that what this is about right now?
That boy is unsuitable for you for so many reasons.
Like what?
Well, for one thing, he's too old.
He's like a year older.
He looks like he's 30. And he's too good looking for you.
Are you saying I'm ugly?
You are my beautiful daughter. Tall, dark, and handsome, looks like a Bollywood star. Do you see those biceps on him?
Oh, please, Mom.
And he's so disrespectful.
I don't think so. He rejected those really nicer than I would have done if I were him.
All I know is a Chinese boy wouldn't be like that.
It's not his fault he's Chinese. Chinese boys aren't that great. He can't like convert or anything.
Yes. You can't have him convert, but he's gonna have you convert, right? And they'll never accept you. I can tell you that. What would your children be?
Human? I can't believe we're even having this conversation right now. I'm in high school, Mom.
Your father and I would be happy with whoever you marry as long as you're truly happy.
Okay.
Your father and I know you would only be truly happy with the boy who's Chinese.
Time out. Let's stop there.
Talk to her.
Mom, have a seat. You look a little tense. Mom, how did that go?
What do you mean, how did it go? She brings home this horrible boy and she expects me to like him? I forbid her to see that boy.
Oh, and what does that mean for you?
I mean, she's not leaving me with many options here. I'm gonna have to sneak around.
Ruh-roh. Mom, is that what you want?
No, sneak, like in his car?
I'm not going to talk about this.
Well, I'm not her enemy. Why doesn't she know? I mean, I have my rights, right? I mean, this is my own home. She's my daughter. She should listen to me. She has no idea what could happen with this boy. Right? Am I right?
Yeah.
Right.
Just a little bit.
Mom, you're absolutely right. And just sort of taking a page from some of the other scenes that we've had, you know, sometimes it takes a quieter and maybe a little bit more of a gentler approach. And maybe just trying to let her know what your real concerns are. And maybe not letting it be quite so personal. Combative, I think, was one of the words that was used previously. And just trying to explore, you know, your concerns and letting her know what they might be. Maybe try that.
So instead of questioning her judgment, being like on the same side as her?
Yeah.
Okay.
And again, trying to show that what your concerns are and that at the end of the day, you're just worried about her.
You know, there's a book called The Art of War, which says, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. I'm going to get to know this boy.
Yes, let's rewind that. And action.
Hi, Mom. I'm home. I'm gonna practice my lines for the audition tomorrow.
Now wait, I need your help with the pot. Love.
Oh, hey, you must be Grace's mom. I've heard a lot about you. I'm Barat. Nice to meet you.
Bora?
Barat.
Bora.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a nice name. Are you in Grace's year?
No, I'm a senior.
Oh, how nice. You could tell her about, senior things, like the SATs and stuff.
We're urgent our audition tomorrow.
Oh, you know what? You could help me test food for the potluck. Do you like wontons? I made wontons.
Yeah, sure, I'll try some.
Yeah. Do you eat pork? If not pork, I made seafood.
I do eat pork.
Oh, good. I have both pork and seafood. It's a potluck for Grace's Chinese school.
Oh, Chinese school. I didn't know she goes to Chinese school. By the way, I'm taking Mandarin next year in college.
You're taking Mandarin?
Yeah.
For Grace? Oh, I've embarrassed you. Okay, I'll go get the wontons. Here you go. Let me know if you want some more.
Thank you.
I have some tea to drink or soft drink if you want. Yeah?
Sure. Yeah.
Grace, you want some? Okay. Let me know if you want more. I'll just be over here, okay?
Thanks.
So an hour goes by, and an hour later. Okay, you two sound perfect. That was good. I'm sure you'll both get your parts, but I'm sorry. I happen to know that Grace needs to study for her math now. But you really do sound good.
No, definitely, yeah. I think we practice enough. I think we're okay.
I don't think so.
You know what? I wrapped up some wontons in foil for your mom. Your parents eat
Man,
pork.
I'm really okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
If they want to have, I don't know, coffee sometime or tea or.
Sure, yeah, I can ask them.
Yeah. What's your mom's name? Anu. Okay. I'll look for her next time at the. Yeah.
All right, well, take care. Bye.
Well, that was awkward.
What? Having you practice in the kitchen? No way was I going to have you go to your room. I know something about hormones.
Are we talking about his or mine right now?
Good question. Good question. I was young once too. A boy like that could be a ladies' man,
Yeah, but Rod, he's not like that.
That's good. Is he the reason you started eating differently this summer?
No. I mean, maybe a little bit. But is that so bad?
Eating healthy is good. I guess I was saying the same thing, but what's he doing for you?
Well, as a matter of fact, I'm glad you asked. He is taking Mandarin.
Okay. It's good if it's for you. But I've heard of these boys that only date Chinese girls. I think they call it yellow fever.
That's so racist, Mom. Oh my gosh.
What? It's racist if they target you because they think you're exotic and they want you to rub their backs and cook for them?
That's not what's going on.
I just, at least with Jonathan Lee, I knew his mother.
Well, that wasn't that helpful, was it?
He seemed so nice. He had such good grades.
Yeah, well, Chinese people aren't everything,
Okay, I guess not all Chinese boys are good.
Yeah.
We learned that.
Yeah.
And maybe not all non-Chinese boys are bad.
Yeah.
I just don't want you to get your heart broken, okay? I mean, I told you I was young once, and you probably don't want to hear about this.
But thanks, I hear you, Mom.
Okay, time out. Mom, that's excellent. Very different approach. How did that feel the second time around when mom took a gentler approach?
Yeah, and I think we were seeing more eye to eye. Like you mentioned, the first time around, sounded like, she was, oh boy. Judging Vermont based on very superficial things. She had just met him. She didn't really know anything about him. I think his name, Dean, was being non-Chinese. That was his main crime. And so I think rather than thinking of her as someone who just questions my judgment, judges based on really shallow things, I could see where she was coming from this time around, that she just wants me to be safe. She doesn't want me to get hurt, these types of things.
I just wanted to know that these things happen, but I feel like maybe the first time, version 1.0, she would draw this, if I drew a line in the sand, she wouldn't come to me if he does turn out to be, a bad boy. Whereas I feel like if I let her know what I'm worried about, then if she does catch him flirting with her friends, she'll be more likely to come to me, and it's not like I'm right, you're wrong kind of thing. Because, yeah, I realize this happens, and she doesn't want to hear about it, but I think a lot of times we've all had our hearts broken, and I guess I just don't want hers to be broken too hard this time.
I agree. I feel like the door was left open a little bit for me to come back and talk to her if I wanted to, needed to.
And the second time around, it was a little less uncomfortable for the young man.
Do you have any feedback?
Yeah, I thought, the second time was definitely less awkward. I'm glad I was offered wontons instead of the century eggs. I felt like, Grace's mom was a lot more open. It was easier to be myself and be comfortable in talking about Grace and, just being me.
The century eggs were from real life. Actually, every line of this skit is from my real life. One difference, though, is that my actual husband ate the eggs for the one and only time in his life. Proved that he was worthy of marrying me. And I truly have not seen my mom offer century eggs to anyone else that wasn't Chinese before or since. Although she'll tell you that she doesn't remember that episode. And one important thing that, in this case, the idea that the girl can convey, with the thing about Jonathan Lee and so forth, is that the unsuitable boy is a human too, and he has a mom and dad. And how would I feel? Because, I've had this happen. I've been the Chinese girl who isn't Jewish or isn't whatever, and then felt discriminated against. And so I realized that I didn't want her heart broken, but maybe if I was against him, his heart would be broken too, and maybe that's not the best thing.
One thing I'll add too is, in this particular vignette, sorry, this is me in regular person character, we focus on ethnicity and race, but it can really be generalized to other sorts of things like age difference or gender, lots of different ways in which it can manifest, like parents disapproving. I think that's probably more common than parents immediately falling in love with the partner person that their child brings in. So it's just something to think about, like keeping the door open rather than, making this firm, position known and making your child kind of drift away. Just kind of leaving that door open, I think, allows for better communication and conversation.
Okay, we have an audience question. What would your advice be for kids wanting to date in high school? Would it be okay to tell them, quote, no dating until going to college, end quote?
Yeah, I've heard that one many times. I think it's probably better for them to start to have a little bit of a relationship, their starter relationship, when they're, when they start to have that idea. If they're going away to college and their very first relationship is where you're not around or anything, then I mean, is that really better than having their first relationship happen where you can be around? So in this case, I've been asked, would you let excessively handsome boy go to your daughter's bedroom? It's like, but in the first case, I was like, in the first case, I was driving him away, and if he has any gumption at all, he's going to come back and sneak around, right? In the second case, I made it pleasant for them, so they're probably not going to be making grandbabies right there in the kitchen, right? But they get to know each other, and the first relationship that my daughter has will be a pleasant one, where they're not sort of just forced to sneak around and get into trouble right away. This is something where I'm getting to know him a little bit better, and maybe he's not such a bad guy.
I'll add that I think, you all will know that child to child there will be differences. Someone will be like, oh, okay, no dating. And others will, do the sneaking around, and it's kind of like getting a pulse, a sense of like what your child will respond better to. And it could be, one of those things where you allow for some exposure if this is someone who, they're going to date no matter what. And maybe just setting certain boundaries and explaining where your boundaries are coming from and why you feel that way. Before they're able to drive, it's a lot simpler. I remember my brother, the extent of his relationship was walking his girlfriend to class at school. But once there is driving involved and there's more freedom, there's more that can happen. But just talking about these things in advance and, again, just giving your reasoning for why you would have your boundary preferences, I think that would be helpful.
It was a lot better for me to realize that my first boyfriend in high school was somewhat annoying than for my mom to forbid me to see him. And, so I learned something from it. It was sort of like, he's my boyfriend. It's like, wait, he's kind of annoying. And that was a good lesson to learn. You wouldn't want that to be somewhere where there wasn't any support.
Right, this is an excellent question. I think one of the things that we don't do enough with our young men and women out there is to talk about relationships. This would be a great question for a child to ask, because then you get the chance to really understand how they perceive a loving and respectful relationship and what their expectations are of a partner. And your chance to get to understand their thought process behind that is very important. What if your child has some unrealistic expectations? And you obviously don't want to pop that balloon or tell them it's wrong, but it's important to explore all the different possibilities, all the different ways that a guy can show that he cares, all the different ways that you can respond when your guy might mess up and might say something or do something inadvertently. This is all very, very, very important. And I think a lot of times we kind of jump the gun a little bit and we start to worry about making grandbabies, when in actuality, we have missed the chance to have a very deep and honest conversation with our young men and women about their understanding of relationships and what they're looking for specifically. That is your window as a parent into what they value and what they're looking for. And that is something I hope that every parent gets the chance to talk about with their young men and women, because that's really important. You don't want them going off on their own without a very thorough understanding of what a respectful relationship should look like. So.
One of the questions that we've had was about what if the daughter marrying Chinese is truly important to the mom's culture? Okay.
This is very important because it can feel like she's rejecting your culture. It can feel like you're rejecting all this Chinese culture, and I'll never be able to talk to my grandchildren, and they'll never understand me. There's different ways of respecting the culture, and remember, this is high school, so she's probably not going to marry this boy, right? That's statistically unlikely. So, well, sorry, but if she marries a Chinese boy because she wants to, and that's really loving Chinese culture. If she marries someone because she's been forced to or shamed into it and so forth, that's not really love, that's sort of imprisonment. So, I mean, it's hard. And one of the interesting things is that, you know, a lot of times as you meet people in different cultures, you may find that they honor your culture in a different way. So, you know, Jewish families often want their children to marry somebody Jewish, and a lot of converts are much more observant than anyone who's born into the religion. So keep your mind open and also keep the dialogue going. Because no matter what ends up happening, if you have a dialogue, that's better than having not talked to anyone. Our next skit is also about, oh, go ahead.
No.
So our next skit is being performed for the first time in front of parents. It was written by Jason Lee, Stanford undergraduate who wrote Awkward Hug, and it's being performed by Edric Zhang, his best friend. We're watching television, and does somebody want to be the off-screen voice, or we don't have to?
I'll be the off-screen voice.
Okay.
All right, ready? And action. And therefore then complete.
Wow. So many people on the Pride Parade. Okay. So many people on the Pride Parade. Why is that a good, respectable family?
I think it's important to again, notice how you're feeling right now, and just like you said before, being able to acknowledge it and to recognize that it might make your child feel a certain way. Maybe you can sort of jump in and explain his perspective right now.
I just feel like there's this huge side of me that I can't share with my family, and like I'm always lying. And it really hurts to feel like I'm always lying to someone that I love. But I feel like if I tell my mom the truth, that she won't love me anymore.
And there was a part of your mom also mentioning that there was something wrong.
Yeah.
That you had done something.
Of course I love him. I'm afraid. If he could make a choice, don't you think I'd want him to be not gay? I mean, I love him, but couldn't he try?
Right, and again, you're very upset and distraught, and maybe it might have made it hard for you to hear what he was trying to get across.
How am I supposed to react? I mean, I'm afraid, and I'm worried, and can't he see that? I'm not mad at him.
Well, yes.
So many people on the Pride Parade. Why is that even on the news? I don't understand why they have to have a parade dedicated to their sexual activity.
What do you mean, Mom? Isn't that kind of homophobic? Also, being gay isn't talking about how much sex they have. It's just an identity they hold.
Of course I'm not homophobic. I just disagree with their choices and their lifestyle. You know, besides, it's not like I go around showing everyone I'm straight. They don't need to shove it in my face.
That's not the same, Mom. You know how much gay people have gone through? They face a lot of discrimination. Even at my school, they've been bullied and beaten up. A lot of people hate gay people, and a lot of them live in shame.
They should be ashamed. They should be ashamed. It's not like we had this before in China. Suddenly we come to the United States, and there's gay people everywhere. We're forced not only to let them marry, but to celebrate it.
How can you say that? Gay people have always existed, Mom. It's not just a trend or a fad. They've just felt too ashamed to come out before and live secret lives. But now times are changing, and
How can you say that? How do Don't argue about things you don't know about.
Mom, what if I told you everything?
What? What did you say?
Well, what if I told you I met other men that I don't think I could fall in love with a woman?
Don't be ridiculous. That's a stupid question.
Mom, please, just tell me. What would you say?
I can't even think about it. It's wrong. It's not normal. It's not natural.
How do you know it's not natural? Would it matter that I was your son?
You wouldn't be my son. It doesn't happen in our family. It's never happened. I don't know anyone who's gay.
I don't know what to say.
That's because there's nothing to say. Why are you even asking this?
I don't know. I don't even know why I asked this. I knew you'd respond like this.
Exactly. Now promise me you won't bring this up again. That you won't even think about being gay. That you won't hang out with gay people.
What? Where is this coming from?
We were all talking about this at church, and we're so afraid. Young people, they see gay people on TV, and then they think it's cool, and then their friends turn gay, and then you turn gay because someone else
That's
does.
ridiculous, Mom. They obviously don't choose to be gay, because like...
Of course it's a choice. You think God made them like this?
But who would choose this? Who would choose to live every day feeling fear and shame and guilt? Who would choose to feel like they have no one to turn to? That no one understands them or accepts them? That no one will ever love them? Not even their own family? Who would choose to feel like there's no way out? Like there's never gonna be any hope? Tell me.
Where's this coming from? Why are you acting like this?
Nothing. Nowhere. Just forget it.
You're not like that, right? You're not gay. Promise me. Think about what our family would say.
Okay, stop. All right. Time out. Let's all have a seat. Mom, you seem tense.
I don't know what came over him. This doesn't happen in our... He's always been a good boy until now.
And maybe that's part of it, that he's also maybe feel equally as scared as you are. And much like in our previous skits, that when you come out with a lot of your anger showing, it makes it an already very difficult reveal or discussion to become any easier and more comfortable. It can be very scary to reveal a secret or something that you've hidden from other people. Anything else that you wanted to add?
Can we try that again?
Let's do it. Shall I do? Sorry, I didn't do the voiceover for the first time around. Put the TV on. Okay, I'm gonna start the voiceover since I didn't do it last time. Sorry about that, guys. So the TV's on. Mom and son are watching. And music starts playing, and it's Gloria Gaynor's I Will Survive. The announcer said, well, okay, so I say we can look forward to more warm weather this coming week. And here's some people enjoying the outdoors at the Pride Parade this weekend.
Mom, what if I told you I was gay?
What did you say? I'm not sure if I understand the question.
Yeah, actually, yeah. The thing is, I think, well, I'm pretty sure I might be gay. And this isn't easy for me to say because I know you probably don't understand, but I didn't want to keep lying to myself, or to you. I didn't want to keep pretending. I'm so tired of hiding.
Wow, I'm really surprised, Edric. You're right, I'm confused. Have you tried? I mean, there was that girl. I thought you liked her. She was so pretty.
What are you thinking about right now, Mom?
I never thought it would happen in our family. I mean, you hear about this on TV or maybe some gossip about your neighbor, but okay, I'm still processing this, okay? Pretty sure you might be means. Does this mean it's a phase? I mean, was it something I did?
Sorry, Mom. I mean,
You don't have to help me with this.
I am. I've known for a long time, Mom. And no, it's nothing your dad did. Parenting doesn't make someone pay. It's not a choice. I tried so hard to deny this and to change myself. I've been so scared. Because I've been bullied a lot. And you and Dad never really talk about this. And sometimes you guys say hurtful things about gay people. I think I've been scared that if I told you, you wouldn't love me anymore. But I couldn't handle hiding this and not having anyone to talk to.
I'm sorry. Of course you know we love you, right? It's just, you hear these things about gay people, I mean, they only like you when you're young and handsome, you know? And I mean, you'll be lonely when you grow old and they abandon you, or maybe you won't even grow old, maybe you'll get AIDS and die. And you'd be such a good father and you'll never have children. You'll never have grandchildren.
I won't get AIDS. And anyone can get AIDS from unsafe sex, not just gay people. And most people nowadays know the risks and they won't get AIDS. And a lot of them want to live happy and successful lives. I want to grow old with someone too. I want to have a beautiful wedding and too many relatives at a Chinese restaurant afterwards. And I want to have kids and teach them the lessons that you taught me. And I want you to be proud of them. Just like I want you to be proud of the man I've become. But I really need you to do everything, Mom. Please.
I'm just really worried about what people will think. Our family, Ye and I, your grandparents, they would disown you, and the people at church, they said, I'm so scared of how people will treat you.
I'm scared too, Mom. But it's kind of already happening. All the time. Whispers in the hallway, hate messages on Facebook. I promise, if I could have chosen my sexuality, I wouldn't have chosen this.
If there was a way to be straight, I would have found it by now. But I can't. I'm tired of lying my mission. I'm tired of living in fear every day of my life, but I'm still me. Just not hiding this time.
You said something about being bullied. Was that at your old school?
Yeah. I guess someone spread rumors about me being gay. I don't even know how they would know, but sometimes they would lock me in the girls' restroom stall and they'd call me gay and a faggot. And my friends don't know either, so I don't really have anyone to talk to about this, and I just feel so alone. Like, no one thinks I'm human. I have to put on this mask and pretend like I'm someone I'm not all the time. I don't know, Mom. I don't even know if there's anything I can do.
That hurts me. That hurts me. I can't believe you were going through all this, and I never knew. I can't stand by why you feel like this. I'm going to talk to the school. I'm going to go up to that principal. I'm going there right now. I'm going to talk to the school, and they can't get away with this. Kids are so mean. I'll be right back. I have to do something.
Yeah, that sounds okay. Thanks, Mom. I feel so much better.
Okay, I'm going to talk to the school. But first I have to talk to you. I can't let the kids bully you. I can't ignore that. But I have to respond. I don't really know what to do, but I'm gonna try, okay? Because you're my son. You'll always be my son.
I was so scared to tell you, Mom. You have no idea.
You'll always be my son.
Okay, that's an excellent place to stop. So things obviously took a very different turn the second time around. Less antagonistic, less combative.
I have to step out of my role as the mom right now and be Dr. Who again. When I went to high school, I had two friends who were gay, and one of them, when he came out to his family, his brother, who was on the football team, beat him so badly he had to be hospitalized. And so he did hide it as best he could, and later on he died of AIDS. And he was my friend. So when I'm crying, I'm not acting. I'm not actually that good an actor. This is how I really feel. My other friend was actually the boy I went to the prom with, and he was gay, which was a bit of a surprise to me when I went to the prom with him. But anyway, he told his mom, and the version 2.0 is modeled almost word for word on what his mother did, which was to say, I worry about you that they're just going to like you because you're cute. And he said, Mom, I wouldn't want to be with someone like that, someone shallow. And wouldn't you know, he's been with his partner, who's a professor. They're both professors. He's been with his partner longer than I have been with my husband. And they each have a biological son that they've raised with a lesbian couple. And so all of the fears that his mother had, they didn't come true. He has the life that she imagined for him. And so she died of cancer about 2 years ago. And they were very loving, and She was proud of her son and proud of her grandchildren, and it was an intact family. So, you know, the way someone deals with this, if this doesn't happen in your specific family, if you can be there for a relative or a friend who's having this struggle and just help them through it, I think that would probably save some lives. And that's why we're doing this.
Edgar, anything to add?
Yeah, so stepping out of my character as well, just like to speak as Edgar, a college student. There's a line that I say that goes, that's something like, I replayed this conversation in my head so many times. And that really stuck out to me because I have replayed this conversation in my head so many times with like my own mom. And it's, I think, probably one of the things I'm like most afraid of. And I think one thing that can be really, really hard, I think, for a lot of closeted like queer people is feeling like they're hiding. They can't be like themselves with the people that they love the most. So I love my mom, and I know she loves me, but it really hurts when she says like, oh, I love you so much, like I love you, my son, when I feel like I'm lying. I feel like I'm lying to her. And so I guess from like the child's perspective, just I think the second time around, like the mom definitely did a better job of recognizing that coming out is can be really, really hard. Even if you have really, really supportive parents, and even if you come from like a more open and accepting community, it can still be really, really hard since, like Dr. Hu shared, there are so many scary stories of people whose parents like don't respond well, and so just like being, I think something that like parents can do is to not assume certain things, perhaps. So maybe not assuming that their child is totally happy when there might be things going on, and maybe even like proactively saying, hey, like, is anything wrong? Like, and asking about like relationships in more of a gender neutral sort of in a way. So it's not just asking like, oh, do you have a girlfriend? You know, maybe asking, is there someone that you like at school, something like that.
Is it okay if I share when I went to, so he directed at Stanford a wonderful musical with 2 different casts, and it was, near the end of the year when there's exams and so forth, and he did such a good job. And like, when I went to the performance to watch him, the people at the ticket office were like, oh, are you his mom? and my heart just went out, and I want you to know that I would be proud to have you as my son.
Yeah, it's very, it's very difficult to reveal those kinds of things about yourself. And as with anybody who has a secret, it's important to recognize just how terrifying it can be. I think one of the interesting parts about this skit that I really love is that I think it actually transcends the LGBTQ identity issue. I think this actually is a model for the very difficult situations parents have when their child says something that's different from what a parent would have expected. Like when I told my mom and dad, I don't know if I want to go to med school. That didn't go well. And it's obviously not on the same level, but I can imagine that there's any number of parents who will run into an issue with their kids disagreeing with something or maybe saying something in particular that might be different from what they would have expected. And I can assure you, it is one of the most terrifying moments in your child's life, being able to be honest about the things they're most scared of letting you know. And it is a moment that every child is waiting to sort of see what your reaction is going to be and to see whether or not you can continue to have the conversation. Believe me, they already know there's probably some level of feelings bubbling up inside of you. But at the end of the day, it's about being able to have an honest conversation and to be able to not have it become something that you have to hide, something that hurts to not openly be talking about. Because again, it could be any number of things. It could be questioning religion, what they believe in. It could be anything. And most important to your child is wanting to be able to speak with a parent about it and to not have it become something where the parent gets angry and is judging. That is not the reaction you want when you're talking about something very private, something very potentially painful.
We realize it's a little past 9 o'clock. I know some of you have sitters and places that you need to be. We will stay afterwards for some questions, but I also don't want you to feel like you have to sneak out. We do appreciate, it's been a long evening, and we appreciate all your attention.
And if, before you guys leave, if you guys can text us, maybe one thing that you learned from today or one thing that was particularly helpful, any feedback, anything like that, that would be really, really helpful. Thank you.
Can I just say one quick thing? If there was something that you disagreed with, especially in this last one, if you really do feel like I don't think it's okay for my son to be gay, I would love to talk more. So totally feel free to talk if you don't agree, or if you agree. Either way. Okay.
No judgment.
Thank you.
The question and answer will start, and it doesn't have to be about this particular.